Revealed, Billionaire's heartwarming test of his 3 wives uncovers incredible, life-changing truths. In the affluent suburb of Maplewood, where picket fences sparkle in the sunshine, billionaire Frank Westfield was a household name. His charisma radiated from his perfectly groomed lawn to the gleaming luxury cars parked in front of his estate. But behind closed doors, he bore a heavy heart, teetering on the brink of a personal crisis. With 3 stunning wives each steeped in glamour and grace, Frank felt increasingly disconnected from the man he once knew. The wealth that surrounded him felt less like a blessing and more like a barrier, obscuring the values of hard work, community, and genuine connection that once defined him. One quiet afternoon, inspired by a sudden urge for self-discovery, Frank gathered his wives Marissa, the devoted social worker, Elise, the ambitious businesswoman, and Lila, the nurturing homemaker. He proposed an unconventional test, an emotionally charged scenario that would challenge their characters and reveal their true selves. He wanted to see how each wife would respond in a moment of real need, bringing to light the core principles of compassion and loyalty. Frank's experiment began with a startling revelation. A retired veteran from the neighborhood, once a proud soldier, faced dire financial troubles and stood to lose his home. This forgotten hero, burdened with dignity stripped away like paint from an old fence, was struggling against the very system that was supposed to support him. As the community's whispers grew into a murmur, Frank saw opportunity not just for the veteran, but for his marriages that were drifting apart. Marissa dove in first, rallying her fellow social workers and neighbors with a vibrant passion. "We cannot let him fight this alone," she declared, her fierce determination igniting a collective spirit of community support. The warmth of the neighbors' hands reaching out to help brought tears of pride to Frank's eyes. He watched as hope blossomed in the faces of those who rallied together. Meanwhile, Elise saw an entirely different angle, noting the gaps in the community services. "What if I could revamp my company to create jobs for those in need?" Greeted by a blend of admiration and awe, she began mapping out ideas that tapped into her ambition while weaving in community support. Frank felt a surge of excitement. Could this effort also bridge the gaps that had widened between them? Lila, with her inherent kindness, sat with the veteran, listening to his tales of valor and loss. "You must know," she said softly, "that you are not alone. Kindness is the most valuable currency we have." Her empathy drew the group's gaze, as she reminded everyone that tangible support wasn't always about funds but about heartfelt connection. As emotions surged, misunderstandings crept and jealousies flared, and silences stretched uncomfortably. Everyone realized that the deeper truths of family dynamics were each tied to the threads of hardship, mirroring a reality more complex than Frank had anticipated. Tensions escalated, exposing social prejudices that had lurked beneath the surface, allowing Frank to contemplate the barriers he'd built around his heart. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Just as Frank felt he was approaching clarity, a shocking twist occurred. He realized that his privilege blinded him, fueling the need for authentic empathy, now more than ever. Suddenly, the question pulsated through him: was wealth truly defined by luxury, or was it measured by the strength of the bonds forged in adversity? As the community banded together for the veteran's dignity, Frank found himself ensnared in the web of hope, heartache, and longing. He stood at the crossroads, emotions spiraling within him, wondering if love and loyalty could withstand the pressures of reality. Would the very fabric of their connections endure when tested by life's harshest truths? With everything hanging in the balance, the story brewed towards a thrilling cliffhanger, leaving readers questioning if Frank's quest for authenticity could thrive amid the fires of true adversity. In the days that followed, Frank felt the weight of choice pressing down on him. He spent sleepless nights, grappling with a blend of guilt for his affluence and hope for his family's future. The community had come alive, filling the streets with laughter and life as they rallied for the veteran. Yet, in the heart of his own home, the tension amongst his wives simmered, threatening to boil over. Marissa, fresh from her successes with the neighborhood, began to throw herself into planning a fundraising event. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, but every time she turned to Frank for support, he felt the chill of her discontent. "You're so distant," she said one evening, her voice shaking with emotion. "I need you to be here with me, not just in body but in spirit." Frank swallowed hard. "I want to be," he replied, though he struggled to convey the turmoil within. The weight of his realization about privilege sat heavy on his chest, suffocating him. He wanted to help, but the fear of revealing too much lingered at the back of his mind. Would exposing his vulnerability push them further away? Elise, ever resourceful, worked tirelessly, transforming ideas into plans that dazzled everyone. She brought in influential friends, her ambition glowing like the morning sun. Yet Frank noticed that her smiles often seemed forced. One evening, as he watched her pitch an employment initiative to a group of local businesspeople, he couldn't shake the feeling that she sought validation more than connection. "Frank?" she asked after the meeting, catching him lost in thought. "What did you think?" The uncertainty in her eyes spoke volumes, and he felt a pang of sadness as he struggled to answer. "You're brilliant," he finally managed, but it felt hollow against the backdrop of unspoken feelings. Lila filled the home with laughter, yet he sensed a quiet hurt beneath her gentle exterior. She devoted her time to feeding the community and comforting the weary souls around them, yet at night, she needed reassurance. "Sometimes I feel like I'm chasing shadows," she whispered, leaning against him one chilly evening. "I'm not sure if anyone sees me." Caught in the storm, Frank felt utterly trapped. Each woman was fighting their own battles, but his heart lay heavy with a sense of powerlessness. How could he encourage them when he felt so lost himself? As the days turned into weeks, the event Marissa had organized drew near. The community buzzed with excitement, yet the atmosphere at home was fraught with tension. The night of the fundraiser arrived, and the atmosphere sparkled with hope. Couples danced, laughter echoed, and for a moment, it felt like everyone would emerge stronger from the challenges they faced together. But when Frank stepped up to speak, his voice shook. "I want to acknowledge our hero," he began, gesturing towards the veteran who had inspired this gathering. "But I can no longer ignore the blessings and struggles that come with privilege. It's time for me to share everything." Gasps filled the room as he decided to open his heart. With every word, he exposed his vulnerabilities: the weight of success, the fear of failure, and the deep longing for genuine connections with the women he loved. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. Murmurs turned into silence, and eyes widened. He had taken a leap, but would it be enough to bridge the emotional distance among them? Would his honesty break down the barriers that had formed, or create new ones? As he finished, the room held its breath. Frank stepped down, heart racing, uncertain of the repercussions of his revelation. Would this moment rip them apart or draw them closer? And then, without hesitation, one of his wives stepped forward, her face a blend of determination and confusion. "But what if—" she began, her voice rising above the whispers in the crowd, setting the stage for a new twist in their evolving saga. The room hummed with uncertainty, all eyes drawn to Marissa as she fixed her gaze on Frank. "What if you stripped away this facade?" She spoke slowly, each word measured. "What if we laid everything bare? The good, the bad, all our truths?" Frank's heart thumped wildly in his chest. He had dared to reveal his vulnerability, but she was suggesting something deeper still. "Marissa," he began, but the intensity of her expression held him in place. "The community sees what we want them to see," she pressed on, her voice gathering strength. "But we can't keep pretending that everything is perfect. We're all hurting, Frank. Maybe it's time we confront it together." Elise's brows furrowed, her concern mingling with curiosity. "And how do you suggest we do that?" she asked, her tone cautious yet intrigued. "By sharing," Marissa suggested, the fire in her eyes brightening. "Each of us should share what weighs heavy on our hearts. Not just you, Frank. We all need to be vulnerable to heal." Lila watched silently, her breathing shallow as she absorbed the weight of Marissa's words. She felt the urge to speak rise within her. What would she reveal, and how much of her own struggle was she willing to let out? Frank glanced at each of his wives, searching their faces for signs of acceptance or hesitation. Lila broke the silence first. "I've always believed that if I could be strong enough for everyone, that would be enough," she said softly, almost to herself. "What if it's not true? What if no one really sees me because I'm the one hiding?" Her admission hung heavy in the air, a sparkling thread woven into the tapestry of their shared lives. Elise leaned forward, vulnerability cracking her carefully composed exterior. "I chase ambition because I thought it would fill the gaps that recognition couldn't. But what if, in the rushing after more, I'm missing what matters most?" As they spoke, Frank felt a flicker of hope. Their struggles were raw and real, but this moment of honesty began to untie the knots in his chest. The fragility of their bonds rested heavily on the brink of revelation, and he realized that perhaps opening up was not just his path to healing, but theirs too. Marissa took a deep breath, her resolve firm. "Let us not do this alone anymore. It's time to lean into each other, to uncover our pain and find out how to rebuild. Together." Something inside Frank ignited. This was the unity he had longed for. Would they emerge stronger by dragging their truths into the light? But just as he felt the warmth of connection amongst them, a loud voice broke through the moment. "What's this about healing? You're all living in a castle made of glass." A familiar face emerged from the crowd, his business partner, Steve. "Don't you see? You're risking everything. Do you really want to go down this road?" Frank's chest tightened again. Steve's words filled the room with doubt, overshadowing the fragile moment they had only just begun to forge. "Didn't you hear? We're stronger together," Marissa countered, indignation building in her voice. "Together or not, it's still a slippery slope," he snarled, crossing his arms. "You're playing with fire." Silence thrummed in the air, tension boiling beneath the surface. Would Steve's warning turn them against one another? Or would they find a way to stand united in the wake of his doubts? As Frank's eyes darted between his wives, he felt a swell of emotions. The choice before him felt monumental. Would they embrace the truth of their situation, or allow external voices to force them apart? The crowd murmur intensified, anticipation thickening the air. Would this moment of revelation lead to deeper understanding, or would they lose their grip on each other amidst the flames of uncertainty? In that charged silence, one question loomed large: what would they choose in the face of potential ruin? The tension in the air felt like a live wire. Frank could see it on his wives' faces, the conflict, the fear, and the yearning to be seen. He opened his mouth to speak, but words clung to his throat, tightening under the weight of Steve's accusation. "You think you can just lay your hearts bare and everything will be fine?" Steve scoffed. "This isn't a fairy tale. This is real life. You're jeopardizing your entire enough." Frank's voice broke through the noise, startling even himself. He drew a deep breath, feeling the adrenaline surge. "We're not just a business or a show for the community. We're people, struggling people. We have to start being honest with each other." Silence blanketed the room, and for a moment, Frank thought he heard the soft whisper of hope fluttering among the onlookers. Lila's hand reached out for his, a mere touch, yet it felt monumental. The reassurance in her grip grounded him. Marissa stepped forward, her chin lifted defiantly. "This is our moment, Steve. It's the moment we take our lives back. Not for the world to see, but for us to heal." Frank caught Elise's eye. He could see her weighing the risk, her brows knitting together like threads of uncertainty. He could feel the push and pull of the moment swirling around them. Would they let fear win? "Don't you want to rebuild what we've lost?" he asked, voice steady. "I'm tired of pretending everything is perfect. It's exhausting. We need to be real." As he spoke, something shifted in the room. Lila's gaze softened, and in that flicker of understanding, he felt the delicate threads of their lives tugging together. Elise took a breath, visibly shaking. "What if we create a safe space right here? Where the truth is welcome, and we won't hide behind our facades anymore. That's exactly what we need, Marissa beamed, her resolve bubbling over into a fierce determination. Our past has shaped us, but they don't have to define us. Steve's expression shifted from scoffing disbelief to a flicker of something else, understanding. It was fleeting, but it was there. You're right to want to connect, he conceded, his tones softening. But be careful. Vulnerability can backfire. I get that, Frank replied, feeling the weight of the man's caution. But if we don't try, we risk losing everything. The eyes around them were wide, drawn in by the raw honesty spilling out into the space. Marissa took a tentative step closer to Frank, her voice low. We're all a bit broken, aren't we? But together we may just find a way to piece those fragments back. Lila's voice trembled as she added, I want to try, I want to be brave and face the fear of not being enough. Is that a start? Yes, Frank whispered, overwhelmed with emotion. He could see the flickers of hope in her eyes. In that moment, he knew they were all in this together. The murmurs from the crowd faded to an encouraging hush. All around them, others were nodding, feeling the energy and unspoken agreement to support this risky endeavor. We can do better, Frank continued, allowing the warmth of his thoughts to spread like wildflowers. Let us promise not to judge what we share. Let us meet each other with compassion and kindness. Marissa and Elise nodded energetically. But just as the atmosphere shifted and relief began to bloom, Frank's phone buzzed in his pocket. Without checking, he sensed it was trouble. The smile on his lips faded. What now? As he pulled out the phone, already dreading what lay beyond the crackling screen, his heart raced with questions. Was this finally the moment they'd take a leap into healing, or would outside forces unravel the threads they were beginning to weave? He glanced back at his wives, their faces lit with hope but shadowed by anxiety. Would truth truly lead to healing, or would this message plunge them into deeper chaos? The room held its breath as Frank stared down at his phone, the bright screen illuminating the tension etched on his face. He took a moment, bracing himself, before finally swiping to unlock the message. The digital note felt heavier than lead. Frank, we need to talk, it read. It's important. The text was from Angelica, his business partner, a woman who never sent a message without reason. His gut twisted. What did it say? Lila's voice broke the stillness, her concern deepening the crease between her brows. Frank swallowed hard, trying to gauge the weight of his worry against her calming presence. It's Angelica. She wants to talk, he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. The room seemed to shrink, the air thick with unspoken fears and questions. What about? Marissa asked, stepping closer, her back straight and ready to face whatever storm loomed ahead. I don't know. But I think it's about the business. He could already feel the clouds gathering, their juicy promises of chaos hanging overhead. He set the phone down, crossing his arms defensively. Elise? He prompted, searching for her input. She still looked shaken, her eyes darting between Frank and Lila, then back to him. Maybe this is what we need to solidify our plans. If Angelica is calling, there might be a chance to shift things in our favor. We can confront the chaos head-on. Her lips parted, and for a moment, it looked like joy might break free. Then that flicker of hope melted back into uncertainty. But what if it's something worse? Frank took a step towards her. Hey, whatever it is, we can handle it together. We can face reality head-on, remember? As if on cue, a hushed murmur filled the crowd outside. A wave of spectators reminded them of their very public struggle. Just let me be the buffer first, Frank said, holding up a hand. If it's challenging, I don't want you to bear it alone. Or allow anyone else to unravel what we're trying to build here, Lila added, her voice steady. This isn't just about the business. It's about us, our strength moving forward. Right, Marissa echoed, her determination returning. What matters is that we're committed to being honest with one another. If we can't do that, we don't stand a chance. Suddenly, Frank's overly cautious demeanor fell away. He nodded, determination taking root. Okay. I'll text her back and request a meeting. Right now. As he began typing, A cloud of anxiety hung in the air, almost palpable. Was this going to pull them apart, or could it serve as a catalyst, propelling them toward their deeper connections? The more he pondered, the more complicated the emotions became. But there was still that thread of their earlier conversation, a fledgling promise of compassion wrapping around their fear like a comforting blanket. He chose to believe in it as he hit send on the message. Frank looked back at his wives, each wearing her own unique tint of emotion. The crowd outside hummed in anticipation, sensing the weight behind their decision to take this next step. Elise, Lila, Marissa, whatever comes next, let us promise right now to stay vulnerable. If we face the truth together, no matter how hard, we can find our way through. Suddenly, Frank's phone buzzed again. His heart raced, each beat synchronizing with the rapid tremors of apprehension feeding his nerves. Was this more bad news or a sign of opportunity? He gazed at his wives, their faces a blend of hope and fear. This could be the moment, he murmured, weighing the future ahead. But are we ready to take that leap into uncertainty once more? Across the room, a couple in the audience whispered, "What does this mean for them?" The scent of anxiety hung thick in the air, but so did the spirit of a fight yet to be waged. What awaited them on the other side of Angelica's message? Frank's heart thudded in his chest as he picked up the phone, its screen glowing ominously with Angelica's name. The crowd outside buzzed, but it faded into the background. He felt like he was underwater, everything muffled except for the racing thoughts in his mind. Was she about to pull the rug out from under them? Or would this meeting offer them a new way forward? "Let us take a breath," Lila said softly, glancing at each of them like a steady captain guiding a ship through a storm. "Whatever happens next, we'll face it together." The strength in her voice ignited a flicker of hope inside Frank. With a deep breath, he pressed open the message. "Can we meet today at the office? I'll explain everything then." Frank's fingers danced over the keyboard, tapping a reply without a second thought. The moment the message sent, he exhaled, a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Okay. It's done," he said, glancing up to see a mix of relief and anxiety on his wives' faces. "Angelica will meet with us at the office in an hour." "An hour," Elise echoed. The way her brow furrowed made it clear she was weighing every possibility. That's not much time to prepare. Marissa stepped forward, determination shining through her fear. "We should discuss how we want to approach this." Her words felt like a line drawn in the sand, reminding them all how far they'd come since facing challenges alone. "Let us run through all scenarios," Frank suggested. "If it's bad news, what do we want to know? If it's good, how do we leverage it?" "We need to be honest about our feelings," Lila stated. "If Angelica wants drastic changes, we need to communicate how it impacts our personal lives. This is more than just business, after all." Frank nodded, appreciating her solid grip on the situation. The truth was, beneath the practical strategies bouncing around the room, he felt anxious about what the meeting would reveal. Questions clawed at his mind. What if Angelica was unhappy? What if there were rumors that threatened everything they'd built? "Here's the thing," he said, his voice gaining strength. "If this meeting is about saving our partnership, we need to be united. We owe it to each other and ourselves to make this work. Let us promise to be forthcoming, no matter how hard it is." A silence settled like fresh snow, and each of them felt the weight of that promise. They drew closer together, fingers laced, hearts beating in sync. Suddenly, the gravity of their commitment sank in deeper. This moment felt transformative, a crossroads where honesty and vulnerability could bloom into something greater. "An hour to go," Marissa murmured, breaking the stillness with a nervous chuckle. "What are we going to do until then?" "I think we need to prepare our hearts as much as our minds," Elise suggested, her soft demeanor radiating warmth. "Let us share what we fear this meeting could mean." One by one, they unfurled their fears. Frank worried about the possibility of losing everything. Lila had concerns about not being heard. Marissa wrestled with self-doubt about her contributions to the team. Elise shared her fear of the fragility of their newly forged bonds. As they vocalized their anxieties, they felt lighter somehow, their worries dissipating into the air. The shared experience enveloped them, creating a safe space for raw thoughts to flourish. Time slipped away, so easily lost in the whirlwind of emotions swirling around them. As the clock ticked closer to their appointment, the vibrant pulse of possibility thrummed within Frank. What revelations would come to light? What truth would Angelica lay at their feet? With that question lingering, the buzz of frantic anticipation electrified the air around them. They stood on the brink of change, and it was both thrilling and terrifying. Frank looked up, his determination renewed. Let us move forward with conviction. Whatever we uncover today, we'll face it together. At that moment, his phone vibrated again. The sharp sound shattered the charged atmosphere, and all eyes turned to him. This was the moment they'd been waiting for, but what awaited them in that message? The room held its breath as Frank's fingers hovered over the screen. The message lived in that anxious silence. He could feel the weight of his wife's gazes as they waited, hope and trepidation mingling in a delicate balance. With a deep inhale, he opened the notification. It was another message from Angelica, and the words stared back at him like an unsolved puzzle. I just wanted to let you know that I've spoken to someone who knows you well. We may need to adjust our meeting time. His heart sank. What did that mean? Had she gotten cold feet? Or worse, was someone else involved? The room felt colder, and his pulse quickened. It seems we're not meeting on time after all, he announced, his voice barely above a whisper. What? Why? Lila questioned, her expression twisting with confusion. Frank read the message again, trying to glean any hidden meaning. She spoke to someone. A someone. Yeah, that can't be good, can it? Marissa's eyes widened. Who does she mean? Is it someone we've worked with? I don't know. I guess we should brace for anything, he muttered, anxiety weaving into his words. Elise stepped closer. Maybe it's someone who can help. Like a consultant? That's one way to look at it, Frank replied, though doubt narrowed his words. He felt as if they were back at square one, questions piling up, answers slipping through their fingers like grains of sand. As they revisited their strategy, Frank could see the current of unease running beneath their discussions. Lila inched closer, the comforting weight of her presence served to calm the tempest brewing inside him. We have to stay focused. No matter what happens, we've got each other. That's what matters right now. Her words resonated, and Frank found himself nodding. If there's something we need to change, let us be prepared. Even if we don't know what that looks like yet, we can adjust together. Right, Marissa said, and for a brief instant, they found solace in this collective resolve. United, they felt more than the sum of their voices. However, the nervous energy rushed back when Frank received yet another message from Angelica. This time, he couldn't help but notice the escalating number of dots signaling that she was already typing again. Here we go, he murmured, tension manifesting into an electric charge. Okay, tell us, Elise said, her hand finding Frank's, seeking strength and unity in the moment. He opened the message reluctantly. She wants to meet in 30 minutes instead of an hour. 30 minutes? Lila echoed, and the reality of the reduced time frame shifted the atmosphere into a flurry of responses. Why hurry? Marissa pressed, her worry resurfacing. Frank took a deep breath. Maybe she's anxious. Or maybe it's about figuring things out quickly before we end up losing even more. However, despite his words, something deeper nagged at him. What if the hastening was a sign that there was trouble brewing? They had prepared, but were they ready for whatever Angelica had to say? Okay, let us go over our game plan one more time, Frank said, ushering them back into a rhythm of preparation. Time seemed to compress around them as they discussed their approach. Each second felt as precious as it was fleeting, their unity crystallizing in the face of uncertainty. As they wrapped up, the reality shifted. The conversation changed focus as they expressed their expectations and visualized positive outcomes. They drummed up courage, building a bridge towards acceptance of whatever truth awaited them. But just as Frank felt the tide of their collective strength rising, his phone buzzed yet again. The unmistakable sound zapped through the atmosphere, emphasizing its urgency. This message was undeniably important. He picked it up, his heart in his throat. What could it be this time? Frank, tell us what it is, Elise urged, her eyes bright with curiosity, but also fear for what was unfolding. He swallowed hard, feeling all too aware of the crushing weight of the moment. It's from her assistant. She wants to know if we can meet outside at the park instead, he said. Slowly, wondering what that change in scenery meant. The thought of secrets spilling in the open air felt like a promise and a warning. Would the sun shine warmly on their revelations, or would shadows loom in the corners of their lives? As uncertainty gripped them, the ticking clock echoed the urgency in Frank's heart. What awaited them under the openness of the sky, and would their bonds emerge stronger or frayed? The questions hung heavily in the air while hope flickered at the edges, teasing them onward into the unknown, and setting the stage for the confrontation they had both anticipated and feared. The park was alive with the sounds of distant laughter and the rustling of leaves. Frank could feel the weight of it all, and as they stepped into that sunlit arena, a mixture of relief and trepidation washed over him. The open space felt both liberating and threatening. Who knew what secrets would emerge here? We need to stay calm, Frank said as they approached a secluded bench. He could see the nervous energy radiating off his wives. Lila was fidgeting with her hair, Marissa bit her lip anxiously, and Elise kept glancing around as if searching for safety. Easier said than done, Lila muttered, glancing at Frank like he was supposed to have all the answers. I just want it to be over, Marissa whispered, her slight tremble revealing deeper fears. Frank's stomach twisted. He understood. The truth, whatever it was, felt like a looming storm, and they were all standing in the eye of it together. We've trained for moments like this. Whatever happens, we'll face it as a team. Elise squeezed Frank's hand tightly, her grip a lifeline against the uncertainties swirling around them. I have hope, she said softly, looking into his eyes with a fervor that made his heart swell. Hope that we can figure this out. Me too, he replied, grateful for her courage. Just then, a figure approached, a shadow emerging from the sun, taking form. It was Angelica, her style polished, confidence radiating off her in waves. Though he barely knew her well, there was something unsettling in how assured she walked, as if fate resided firmly under her control. The ambivalence struck harder than he'd imagined. Thank you for meeting me, Frank, Lila, Marissa, Elise, she said, her voice assured but carrying an undercurrent of tension. There was a subtle shine in her eyes, one that hinted she possessed knowledge they didn't. A little outside feels different, Lila attempted to break the ice, though her voice shake clashed with the intent of her words. Angelica smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Change of scenery can often help reveal truths. Her eyes darted quickly toward Frank. I hope you're prepared. The others shifted uncomfortably, a silence enveloping them. Frank felt his heart rate spike. Prepared for what? With a measured pause, Angelica produced her phone, tapping the screen with precision before turning it toward them. I've been in contact with someone who has insight, someone who knows all of you. There are complexities here that may require us to draw on all your strengths. The weight of her words settled over them like a thick blanket, suffocating yet inviting. Who? Marissa demanded, her voice rising defensively as if they could fend off the truth through sheer will. Your husband's past is intertwined with decisions that could affect your future, Angelica stated carefully, her gaze unfaltering. It's not what you think. The truth is layered. Frank felt the world tilt on its axis. Past decisions? Ties he hadn't disclosed? What do you mean? He asked, turning to his wives, his voice a blend of desperation and disbelief. Angelica straightened. There was a fleeting moment when something shifted in the air, a crackle that hinted at connection, deception, and unforeseen revelations. The profound silence wrapped tightly around them, and Frank could feel the air thickening, constricting his breath. The questions hung in the air like gathering storm clouds. What truths lay hidden in that tangled web of history? Would unveiling them draw them closer or tear them apart? A gust of wind ruffled the leaves, and Frank felt it as a warning. Time seemed to stand still. Would they discover the healing they sought, or find out something that could shatter everything they had built together? Angelica leaned forward, intensity glimmering in her eyes. I can help reveal the depths of this tangled situation. But you must be ready. Are you? The question pierced through the tension, echoing in Frank's chest. Their collective fate teetered on the edge, suspended in that moment of truth. Would it lead them to redemption or heartbreak? The stillness in the air thickened, every unspoken word amplifying the tension already hanging like mist around them. Frank looked from Elise's anxious gaze to Lila's clenching fists and Marissa's desperate expression. This was no ordinary meeting, secrets loomed, and the gravity of Angelica's words pressed down on him like a weight he could hardly bear. What do you mean by intertwined? His voice was steadier than he felt, but he could feel a tremor deep within. What's my past got to do with any of this? It's complicated, Angelica replied, her gaze unwavering. But what's important is that it's not solely yours to reveal. The four of you share something deeper than just the present. It's more profound than any of you might realize. Marissa shifted impatiently, her nerves bubbling. You're being cryptic. We need facts, Angelica, not riddles. Frank could feel her frustration. It brushed against his own. Yeah, what's the point of dragging us all here then? Angelica placed her phone on the bench and took a deep breath, filling her lungs with the warm air. Let us start from the beginning. The connection you have, Frank, with someone you once considered a friend, it's not only about you anymore. It involves your wives. We have to go back to a choice you made long before you even knew them. The word choice struck Frank like a lightning bolt. Past decisions, relationships, that dark chapter he thought he could leave buried. This isn't about Anna, is it? He demanded, but a part of him already knew. Angelica nodded slowly. The connection runs deeper than what you think. She played a part in each of your lives in ways you haven't fully recognized. Her absence was a choice you made to protect them, but it has left lingering shadows. Frank's heart raced. Anna had been his first love, the one he left behind. The pain of her memory clawed at him, and he could see hesitation in Lila's eyes, a glimmer of understanding. Did they know more than he thought? What do you mean, shadows? Elise said, gripping Frank's arm tighter. Her voice trembled as the reality began to sink in. How could she affect us now? Because, Angelica said, her voice low and measured, there are pieces of your past and threads tied to Anna that could unravel everything you've built together. She glanced at each of them. But if you learn what needs to be uncovered, you might just rewrite your future. A rush of emotions coursed through Frank. Fear mixed with hope. Could facing their shadows lead to healing? Or risk everything they cherished? Tell us, Lila urged, desperation creeping into her voice. What do we need to do? Angelica straightened, her demeanor both authoritative and inviting. We need to bring Anna into this conversation. I believe she holds other truths that connect you all. Truths that are essential for your healing and understanding. Bring her here? Marissa breathed, a mix of disbelief and dread coloring her tone. The idea felt monumental, an earthquake about to shake their foundation. Frank's heart raced at the thought. The woman he had left behind, the one he never expected to confront again, now stood at the edge of what they might discover. But could they handle it? Are you all certain? If we pursue this, there's no turning back. It will shatter the comforts of your ignorance. As his wives looked at him, each face painted with a mix of apprehension and determination, Frank felt the weight of this decision sink in. Would this journey lead them to understanding, or would it shatter their world? With a breath that felt like a weight lifting, he nodded. We need to know. Whatever it takes. Angelica's eyes gleamed with an understanding that made his pulse quicken. Very well. I'll arrange for you to speak with her. But prepare yourselves. Uncovering the past can ignite a fire that won't easily be extinguished. Every heartbeat echoed with the reality of their unfolding challenge. Frank clenched his jaw, a mixture of resolve and fear swirling inside him. This might break them or forge them anew. But with a past like theirs, what other option did they have? As they stood on the precipice of the unknown, Frank couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to unearth something profound, something that could shift the very nature of their love forever. But would they truly be brave enough to face it? The air felt electric, crackling with unspoken words and layered emotions as Frank and his wives stood at the brink of a monumental decision. The sun hung low, casting long shadows across the park, mirroring the uncertainty looming over them. Frank could see the determination in his wife's eyes, yet fear lay just beneath the surface. "Are we really ready for this?" Lila's voice trembled, but Frank could hear the courage behind her words. He looked at her, then at Marissa and Elise, their faces revealing a range of emotions that spoke volumes. "We can't avoid the truth," he finally said, his voice steady. "Not anymore. It's time to confront this head-on." Angelica regarded them all with a piercing gaze. "Then it's settled. I'll arrange a meeting with Anna. Prepare yourselves, her arrival could change everything." Frank nodded, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. Did he truly want this? He had walked away from Anna for a reason, yet now her existence threatened to unravel everything he had built with the women he loved. They returned home, silence draping over the car like a heavy blanket. Marissa drove, her fingers gripping the steering wheel tightly. "Do you think we can handle what she'll bring?" "Yes," he replied more confidently than he felt. "We owe it to ourselves." Once home, the familiar warmth of their shared space felt different. Chairs too close together, air too thick with unsaid words. The reality of the impending conversation started to settle in. Each of them retreated to their rooms, their private thoughts drowning out the world outside. But as night descended, something shifted. The once heavy atmosphere began to lighten, wisdom emerging from the scars they carried. They came together in the living room, drawn by an invisible bond of resilience. "Okay," Lila began, her voice softer than expected. "Let us promise that, whatever happens, we won't let it tear us apart. This is about healing and understanding." Marissa stepped forward, determination coloring her eyes. "Exactly. We can choose to listen and support each other. No more isolating ourselves." Elise took a deep breath, a lock of hair falling from her bun as she nodded. "We can't predict how Anna will react or what she'll reveal, but we can work toward a shared goal." Frank felt a swell of pride for their unity. "We will stand together. No matter what happens next, we do it as one." After moments of reflective silence, one by one, they shared their fears and questions, opening old wounds to let the light in. Lila talked about vulnerability, Marissa expressed her doubts about being enough, while Elise shared her worries about the future of their family. Each revelation was a step toward repairing broken places, a willingness to heal despite the pain. Gradually, the atmosphere transformed. The tension that had once wrapped tightly around them began to dissipate. They held on to one another tightly, hearts beating as one. The sun rose on the day of the meeting with Anna. Frank stood in front of the mirror, his reflection revealing a man caught between his past and present. He hesitated, but took a deep breath and moved forward, ready to embrace whatever truths awaited him. At the park, the sun shone brightly. The three wives gathered around him, their hands intertwined, lending strength and comfort. When Anna arrived, her presence filled the air like a sudden storm. Frank's heart raced at the sight of her, memories flooding back, both bitter and sweet. She looked different yet familiar, a specter from the past that had lingered in the shadows of his heart. "Frank," Anna said softly, her voice steady, but he noticed the tremor. "It's been a long time." "Too long," he managed. The weight of their shared history loomed large, a bridge built on lost time. As the initial awkwardness faded, each of them stepped forward to introduce themselves. They had only heard fragments of her through Frank, but now, standing in the open air together felt monumental. After exchanging pleasantries, Angelica gestured for silence, urging them to begin. "Let us uncover the truths that bind you all. Only by facing the past may you find your way to the future." Frank felt the intensity of the moment. What they were ready to explore held the power to bind or fracture them, yet the support of his wives enveloped him like a warm embrace. "What do you want us to know?" Lila asked, her voice unwavering. Anna's gaze fell upon her, a quiet connection forming. "I made choices too," Anna replied, her voice reflecting a depth of feeling. "I loved Frank and thought he could have a better life without me. But I didn't realize how that choice would ripple through our lives, through yours as well." The room pulsed with emotion, their past intertwining. Frank's heart ached as Anna continued, unearthing pieces of herself that had remained hidden. Each word she spoke echoed with truth and healing, a recognition of shared complexity that could reshape everything. Though the conversation was heavy, it felt cathartic. They expressed their fears, hopes, and regrets, and for every layer peeled away, they found new connections. As the sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow, something shifted within each of them. The fog of the past that had loomed so long began to lift. Conversations flowed with honesty and raw vulnerability, shedding the weight that had lingered for years. When the meeting reached its apex, Frank felt a soft release, as if they had all taken a collective breath for the first time. They had confronted those shadows, unearthed painful truths, and explored the beautiful complexity of their relationships. Anna looked at each of them. "I see now that you're a family I never anticipated. I've been a part of this story, whether I wanted to be or not. And while my choices shaped things, the strength you have now hold on to that." As they stood together, something magical happened. Understanding blossomed between them all. The bonds may have been tested, but they emerged only stronger. With tears in their eyes and honesty in their hearts, they embraced a unified force of love, forgiveness, and newfound hope. They had navigated the storm together, revealing light from the shadows of their past. Whatever lay ahead, they would walk that path side by side. And as they left the park, hand in hand, surrounded by the warmth of connection, Frank knew this was just the beginning. Hope pulsed within them, weaving a tapestry rich with courage, understanding, and infinite possibility. Now you have witnessed their incredible transformation. Don't let it end here. You need to subscribe now to never miss another exclusive story. Please, leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support the channel. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And for the sake of true understanding, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second.